Greetings and great Garvey Day to all the celebrants of the Marcus Garvey Day 2024, hosted by that mighty, powerful London division of the UNIA, the fastest growing division anywhere in the world today. This is the UNIA International Organizer, Brother Morima Kamal, and I greet you in all the languages of blackness. The Alafia, Etisain, Hotep, Tenda Mwari, Wagwan. What's up? As we celebrate this auspicious occasion, bathed in the spirit of universal African love and confraternity, I want everyone to remember that the reason for the season is Mr. Garvey's love. We love him because he first loved us. And so as we celebrate this great occasion of the man who gave us everything we needed to accomplish anything we will, I want us to keep in mind this year's theme, which is real men laugh at opposition, and real men smile when enemies appear. And the reason I chose this particular scripture from the Gospel of Garveyism is because I am aware of acts of brutality being perpetrated by the far right against unsuspecting, defenseless members of the community, particularly people of color. And I want to make sure I prepare you all with the right attitude if you are confronted with such brutality. I want you all to understand that you need sound judgment and not be fearful and intimidated by these thugs. And remember, Garveyites, during times of crisis, we don't agonize, we organize. Now, while the UNIA is a friendly society and advocates peace and diplomacy whenever possible, when violent thugs threaten the life and liberty of our members, brothers, we don't advocate turning the other cheek. We are not a cheeky organization. We don't talk tongue-in-cheek. We don't turn the other cheek, nor do we bend any cheeks. Remember, again, we may be meek, but we are not weak, and neither was our leader. So let us reflect for a moment on the life of the Most Honorable Marcus Garvey. And remember, Mr. Garvey was born a warrior. He was born 2 years after the Berlin Conference. He was born 12 years after the Morant Bay Rebellion, which his father participated in. So our founder was born during the time of Great Tribulation. In fact, he founded the UNIA at the outset of World War I and served faithfully as leader until his death at the advent of World War II. So it's fair to say Mr. Garvey was no stranger to danger. Yet even as a young man, he refused to be anybody's punk. His peers respected him because of his intelligence, but he also made them respect the strength of his arms. So we're not following a punk leader. Remember, Mr. Garvey was the only leader who was bold enough to confront the KKK face to face and engage them in a brutally honest conversation. So, why wasn't he afraid? Because real men laugh at opposition, and real men smile when enemies appear. Now, Mr. Garvey learned as an adolescent that fear is just a state of nervousness, fit for children and not men. And when man fears a creature like himself, he actually hurls an insult at the Almighty. He offends God, who created him in his image and likeness, because he too, in some way, is a God. Now, Mr. Garvey was never afraid of a good fight. And to the contrary, again, he boldly proclaimed real men laugh at opposition. Real men what? Smile when enemies appear. Now, as he began to travel and across the globe and witness the suffering of his people everywhere, Mr. Garvey vowed to restore that liberty to us Africans at home and abroad that we once enjoyed in our motherland before the Ma'afa, aka the Great Tragedy. In the course of his travels, he learned of a massacre that took place in East St. Louis. And one of the worst tragedies, in fact, in U.S. history, aside from the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre. During this particular series of events, during the East St. Louis riot, there were men being snatched up out of cars. Young, white girls were snatching, black girls off the street and actually literally beating them to death, taking off their high heels and stabbing them with it. You had, mobs chasing people into burning buildings, and then, they put a wide net around the building and dared anybody to come out and would shoot them if they did, or worse. And so, some of the blacks even preferred to jump into the fire than have to face that mob. In fact, they had some cases where, one particular case where one of the members of the National Guard sat there and watched as people were throwing babies into the burning building, and actually laughed on one occasion. Thought it was quite funny. So Mr. Garvey, in receiving these reports from the East St. Louis riot, made certain observations in the article. First, he noticed the sheer evil of the mobs and warned us to never underestimate them. These types of people are devils, and they do devilish things, and we can't expect that they're going to have any level of humanity when it comes to us. He also noted that the police department was quite inefficient and incompetent when it came to protecting the rights of black people and stemming the violence, particularly when whites are being the attackers against blacks. They somehow get the orders not to shoot, to defend our lives. So that's another observation he made. Finally, he observed that, and I quote, "White people are taking advantage of black men today because black men all over the world are disunited," end quote. Mr. Garvey later suggested that this organization is our greatest enemy. Had we been better organized during this riot when these hordes of devils came in our community, we would have gladly blew them straight back to hell where they belong. But because we weren't organized, we had to suffer the consequences. Today in the UK, there are cowardly mobs of people running wild just the same. These thugs, these ravenous wolves, are preying on select neighborhoods and trying to find easy targets to provoke a race war. Well, you know what Mr. Garvey said about wolves. In the world of wolves, one must go armed. And the best defensive weapon within reach of the first race is the practice of race first in all parts of the world. And so, I repeat again, it's time to get organized, brothers and sisters. Once we organize, I promise you, the time will come when we're going to prove that far right dead wrong if they come up in our neighborhood. When we are organized, we're going to demonstrate to the world the sterling worth of our race, and that we are the equal, if not superior, to any other race on the planet. Now, I want you to remember also the words of a Garveyite minister who came to London about 60 years ago. And I'm talking about no other than Minister Malcolm X. Yes, I said a Garveyite minister. A man who was Garvey born, Garvey bred, and when he died, was Garvey dead. Now, he made an argument when he was before the Oxford Union, and he made this point that I want to quote, that extremism in defense of liberty is no vice. Moderation in pursuit of justice is no virtue. So don't underestimate these attackers out there. And if attacked, remember the laws of self-defense. When you are attacked, it's better to move than to block. It's better to block than to strike. It's better to strike than to maim. It's better to maim than to kill. And it's always better to kill than be killed. So, look out for yourselves. Finally, brothers and sisters, is during times like these, I hope we begin to understand the value of coming together as a community and as a race. Now that our safety is being threatened and forces are being mobilized against us, we need to really seriously develop a plan of action and coalesce around a program that is tried, tested, and true. Mr. Garvey once said that there's no law but strength, no justice but power. He said if we want justice, we must be strong. And if we must be strong, we must come together. And if we must come together, we can only do so through a system of organization. And that organization is the UNIA, the most tried, tested, and true program ever established. Founded by the master architect and chief engineer, the most comprehensive blueprint for Black power ever designed and constructed. And so as we celebrate this Garvey Day, I ask that everyone mark this celebration by submitting an application. Let us come together and organize and prepare an emergency plan of action to protect one another and not fall victim to those seeking to do us harm. And I leave you all with the motto of the association: one God, one aim, one destiny. Signing out.